I didn't love myself, truly. And I think the most important thing that the Hoffman Process taught me was to love myself. And then everything else kind of fell into place. The second moment was when I posted my Smoke and Love remix and Levity commented on it. And they were like, "This is fire. You're on a roll." And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Every single day I'm scared. Every single day. And the thing that the Hoffman Process taught me, and just like the self-love, is that, do it scared. Whatever it is, if you're afraid of it, it's probably because you need to do it.
Welcome to Beyond the Bass, a podcast that goes beyond the music and into the full, authentic stories of the artists you know and love. No sound bites or surface level moments, just depth, honesty, and connection. It's my hope that you'll walk away from this podcast feeling a little bit closer to your favorite artists and maybe even more inspired to pursue your passions too. Today's guest is Johnny Ruffin, also known as Bassurgence. His unique sound is a blend of dubstep, reggae, and riddim, and he's pushing the boundaries of sound design. Some of his recent releases have been noticed by artists like Levity, Zingara, GorillaT, and TVBOO. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive in.
It's good to be here.
Dude, it's so good to have you here to kick this off.
Absolutely, man.
I honestly couldn't think of a better first guest, so thank you so much for coming out, for being here, for just being so present. Like, one of the things that I first noticed about you that I really admire to this day is just your light. Like, you are just a beam of energy, and you just effuse this beautiful light wherever you go.
So do you, man.
Oh.
Like, right back at you, like, same exact feeling, bro.
Man.
You just exude that kind of energy. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Fuck
The
yeah,
feelings are mutual.
Hell yeah.
Tell me, like, what's going on in your life? Like, I get the social media updates, right? Like, I see your TikToks, I see the Instagrams. Like, what are you most excited about right now? I feel like there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. I don't know how much I can necessarily speak to all of it, but currently in the middle of signing a really significant management deal with like some of my kind of idols' old manager, specifically GorillaT's old manager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's Gridlock, so that's the group, and very exciting things are happening there. So we're working through the contract right now and getting things kind of finalized. I actually just got the revised contract back from my attorney yesterday, so I just sent it off, and now they're reviewing it, and then they're going to send it back. And a couple more rounds of negotiation probably, but then we'll be on the way and hitting the ground running. Definitely focusing on kind of a long-term headliner strategy, if you will. So there probably won't be as many like small shows for now. We're going to be very much focused on like the back end work and building the traction, and then, working towards a tour eventually in probably a year or so. So yeah,
Wow.
Very exciting stuff.
I mean, that's massive. This is like your first management role gig.
Yeah. First manager that's reached out to me. Just very, very grateful for the opportunity to be a part of, an organization that has brought so many people out of the hood, if you will, like 2% Amorphic, GorillaT, obviously. I mean, they found GorillaT when he had 2,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, that's about where I am.
Wow.
And in 3 years, now he's got 100,000 monthly listeners, and he's playing Thunderdome, so it's like the potential is huge.
Dude, a massive congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I hope that's not too premature.
It's yeah. I mean, we've already started working together kind of prematurely, because the contract has taken about a month or so to get to where it is now, and then it's probably going to be another 2 weeks before it's officially signed. But John, who was going to be my manager, is so excited to work that we've just already started doing stuff. So
yeah.
Oh,
that's incredible. So what? I mean, I was gonna wait until later in the podcast to get into this, but we're here now.
Yeah,
so
might as well.
Let's just how did this come about? Like, did you get a cold email, a DM?
Just got a DM.
Take me to that moment, right? Where were you? What are you doing? Do you see the DM immediately?
Yeah.
Like, put me there.
Yeah, I was sitting in my office. I was working on my what remix was I working on? It was something. I think it was, I don't know. I can't remember. Some remix. Saw an Instagram DM from Jonathan Dasa. And I was like, who is this guy? Open up my phone. Hey, I've been looking at your page and I really see, kind of your vision that you're working on, and I see the creativity and the passion there, and I'd love to have a conversation with you and see if we could mutually benefit each other in some capacity. And so I was kind of initially definitely a little standoffish. I've, obviously had some I guess some worries about a manager in some ways, of like worried about creative freedom being taken away or whatever. But, I don't want to speak too much on our personal interactions, but overall, just nothing but positivity to say about Jonathan. He was very much like artist focused. That's kind of the way that they operate. And, very much not looking to put their name on your project. They want to just back your project and get you rolling. So we had set up a Zoom call. I'm getting ahead of myself, but we set up a Zoom call, and then we had a talk and kind of went through some of my background and whatnot. And then, just talked a lot about what they can offer. And it seemed like a really good opportunity. And then just did some more thinking about it, thought about it for probably 2 weeks or so. And then set up a secondary call, and it's like, yeah, I think I want to work with you guys. And that was, it's the big break. It's the thing. It's the thing that'll get me out the hood. Sure, I could probably make it on my own in twice as much time, most likely, but this can definitely be a little bit of a springboard to get the ball rolling. So very exciting.
Totally. I'm so excited for you. This is news to me, and
yeah.
I'm sitting here like trying to hold back my excitement and jump out of this chair.
Yeah.
But that's huge.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to put
Let's take a step back.
Yeah. Because there's a lot that's happened before
that has led up to this. This is this is the climax. But let's do the backstory.
Let's start, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious what it was like to grow up as Johnny.
Yeah. Well, I was born in 2004. I'm 21 in Santa Barbara, California, to two loving parents who were married for about 4 years until they decided that things were not working out. They'd been married for 20, but 4 years after I was born, they got divorced, which was definitely hard, to say the least. There was like a ensuing 8-year custody battle, and there was a lot of therapy, a lot of mediators, a lot of court stuff. So that was pretty. To be honest, I've kind of trauma blocked a lot of it, and I can't necessarily put myself in that position anymore. It's more like I remember it through what other people have told me about the experience or whatever. But I was really young, so I was kind of a little bit mentally removed from all that because I wasn't really sure exactly everything that was going on, obviously. But had a relatively stable childhood in terms of never really, I grew up for sure privileged. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that or lie about it. My parents were well off, and they did the best they could. There was definitely a lot of emotional turmoil, and living between two houses, and I basically lived out of a suitcase until I was 16, because I was constantly going back and forth between my mom's house and my dad's house and whatnot. When I was 8, my mom remarried this guy. I'm not gonna get too much into that. Bad situation. They ended up getting an annulment 2 weeks after they got married.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was weird. I moved I think 12 times before the age of 10. Lived in 12 different houses. Yeah, I'd live in a house for a year, and then we'd move, and then because my dad has always had more stable. He stayed in one place. I've lived in maybe 3 or 4 houses that he lived in, but I've lived in 10 different houses with my mom.
Wow.
Growing up. So there was a lot of I was constantly having to adapt. I think that actually really served me really well. It built a lot of resilient skills around managing difficult situations or difficult emotions or things I didn't want to deal with. I kind of had to. So I learned a lot of resilient skills growing up, which I think has served me extremely well as an adult. But yeah, I moved to Colorado when I was 10. my dad stayed in California for like 2 years after I moved, because I basically just moved with my mom. But then I was traveling back to California for a week every month and also a weekend every month. So I was on a plane.
Wow.
20 times a year plus more. So there was a lot of, which that was not fun. Did not enjoy that. My dad would also come out to Boulder, and he'd stay at this house that was kind of a friend's, and I'd spend like a week with him a month. But yeah, so there was more back and forth kind of stuff there.
So
but
this
eventually,
was age 4 to 12.
yeah, to about 12. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my dad moved out to Colorado, and then things were more normal. When I was 16, actually, okay, let me take a little bit of a step back there. When I was about 14, this is where the music stuff starts to come in a little bit. That's when I kind of picked up the music production. I'm going to go back even a little bit further. Also, for the record, I have raging ADHD, and I will bounce around all over the place.
Great. I welcome that.
In terms of my musical background growing up, always been very interested in music and always been very much around music. My mom sang, she played piano, she played guitar. She's actually got like 5 albums out of her own music and stuff. And yeah, so very musical family. My dad played saxophone. I was playing around with guitars and harmonicas and shakers, and I had a drum set when I was like 3, 4, I don't know, and I had that for a while, and I was constantly making music in some capacity. It wasn't necessarily that structured when I was young, obviously, but I was always very interested in making sounds. I started playing violin in 1st grade because we were kind of just required to. We had to play an instrument, so played violin from 1st grade through 5th grade, and then I switched to trombone in 5th grade, played trombone through 8th grade, and then in sophomore year of high school, I picked up guitar as well. I was in a deathcore band for a very brief period of time. I was a big metalhead, actually, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But also around the same time that I was, well, actually a little bit before I picked up guitar, I picked up music production. I downloaded FL Studio on my laptop, and I was making the most garbage rap beats you've ever heard in your life. I still have some of them, and they are terrible. I'll play one sometime at a show just for the hell of it. Just be like, you want to hear something I made when I was 13 or 14?
This is where I came from.
Yeah, this is where I came from. So yeah, I was kind of into electronic music. Sort of. I was listening to a lot of like NCS and like Monster Cat and old Skrillex when like Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites dropped and whatnot. But I didn't really recognize it as like, oh, I'm into EDM or I'm into dubstep. It was just, this music is cool. I didn't really genre classify it or really think about it in that way. But I kind of transitioned out of that around COVID. And got much more into metal because I was playing guitar, and so I was like an exclusive metalhead for a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Big into Metallica, old thrash metal. Then I the pipeline of heavier and heavier music just kind of progressed, and then I got into like deathcore, and then the like grindcore and slam metal and like really brutal stuff. And then a little bit after COVID, well, actually, yeah, probably, I think I was 17 or so when I started getting back into EDM. It was Overthinker by Enzo. I was hanging out with some friends, and somebody played Overthinker, and I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, what is that song? That scratches an itch for me that I didn't realize I had, and then it just went deeper. And I basically initially was very into the Enzo and Ganja White Night, and then things progressed from there. But I kind of started producing the dubstep and the electronic music around the time that I was getting into it, because I had taken a break for music production. I hadn't been making the rap beats and stuff. I'd been focusing on the guitar, and then I was like, oh wait, I like this music. I already know how to kind of structure a beat. So maybe I can also learn how to do all this other stuff like sound design and whatnot. And then I just started diving in, and here we are.
Okay. I appreciate that.
That's a lot.
That was a lot. I would love to like dive into a couple
topics.
Well,
you can dive into those individually
and
as you see fit.
So when you, just for the timeline's sake.
Yeah.
when you started making EDM beats
Mhm.
and producing
Yeah.
EDM, at what age were you, roughly?
I think it was around like 17, 18.
Okay.
It was about 3 years ago or so that I really started getting into
Okay.
the electronic music production.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we're working from like age 4 to 18.
Yeah.
Cool. So you mentioned I'm also a product of divorce, by the way.
Yeah. Oh.
So I did not have a custody battle, although my parents, whom I love both very much,
Mhm.
I had my own set of things that I
Yeah.
needed to work through in life. So I completely understand kind of what some turmoil might look like.
Yeah.
You mentioned resiliency.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm curious if there's like an example that you have or one that really comes to mind of this resiliency thing that you mentioned that you feel came from being a product of divorce.
I think the ability to adapt to like any situation and just be comfortable with constant change, I think is 100% part of it, because when you're living between two different houses and you have to like either bring all your stuff with you every time you go to a different house, which is a nightmare, trust me.
Oh yeah.
Or you have to have like two of everything, or you just have to learn to, okay, I'm going to play with my guitar half the time or whatever, if I don't want to be dragging it back and forth. I think that just forced me to be okay with like change and with things evolving and not staying consistent, and sort of just like the constant go, go, go. Definitely is serving me well in this industry and whatnot, because it's so fast paced and go, go, go and constantly changing, and not staying in one place and being comfortable with moving around a lot physically. I think definitely served me.
Yeah. Is there or was there a small moment from your childhood that had an unexpectedly large influence on who you've become?
I'm trying to think about that. I might have to get back to you on that.
That's
I'm
okay.
not entirely sure. I feel like there were a lot of different moments, but I'm trying to think of like a specific. I'm not sure I can right now.
Okay. That's all good. If something comes to
Yeah,
you, we can go there.
I'll touch back on that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that music was part of your life
Yeah.
from a very early age. How did you just started picking up, an instrument back in the day, or was it something that you mentioned your mom
Mhm.
was a musician herself, an artist herself? Did she kind of introduce you to it? Do you remember how you initially got into it?
So actually, yeah. My dad was also very musical as well. Have you ever heard of this thing called Up With People?
No.
So it was this movement back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I think it's still going actually. And it's basically where young adults would join up with this group, and they'd basically become like a traveling like musical troupe. And they'd go all around the country and do all these charity shows and play at all these places to spread messages of world peace and whatnot. And especially became a big thing after the Vietnam War, and there was the big peace movement and whatnot. So my dad was actually like one of the original cast members of like the first Up With People cast.
Wow.
And he's really good friends with it's a bunch of brothers. They're called the Caldwell brothers. A couple of them are, unfortunately have passed away now, but they were the ones who started this group, and they were this band, and then they had all these people that basically became their like traveling choir with them, and they'd do these massive live performances. And travel all over the world, not just the country, traveling all over the world. And so my dad was part of that. And so he actually brought, and I've met a lot of the Caldwells actually. I think I met all of them a number of times, because they do these massive reunions like every 5 or 10 years for different casts. So like your cast has a 5-year reunion, 10-year reunion, whatever. So I used to go to those as a kid when my parents would go, and so I'd meet them all and whatnot. But they actually had them at our house a couple of times, and
Wow.
they brought like a couple of guitars and some like maracas and other stuff, and they left a couple of them with me, and that was sort of like my initial introduction to like musical instruments. I was like 2 at the time, I think, and then my mom got me a drum set for Christmas when I was 3, and then yeah, I mean my parents were definitely supportive of it 100%, and I think they definitely brought it into the household. So
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that. So Was there a distinct moment that you remember where music was no longer an interest, it was more of a calling?
Yeah. It was much later, actually. Much later. It it actually happened like 3 years ago. I was in my office at my working my corporate job, which I still work. But I was in a little rented office that I used to rent out. And I was trying to figure out how Enzo did the like chord womp kind of thing in Overthinker, where it's like the womp 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 thing. And I figured it out. And I have a video, and it's on Snapchat, and it just says, I figured it out on the screen. And it's me showing it. Admittedly, it sounded like shit. It was on my laptop speakers. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. But it was the moment where I stopped looking at these artists as like gods. I was like, okay, I can do something that you can do in, my own rudimentary way, but it's the concept. I understood the concept. And that moment I realized, oh wait, if I can figure this out, I can figure anything out. And I was like, I'm going to make a career out of this. This is my life. This is the path, because I think part of myself was holding back because I didn't think that I was going to ever be good enough, or that I'd ever figure it out, or that I'd ever, make it or whatever, because I hadn't. There hadn't been a moment where I was like, oh, wow, I can do something that these people that I idolize can do, that the average person can't. And so that was kind of that moment where I was like, this is it.
That is incredible. Okay,
Yeah.
so Enzo.
Yeah.
If Enzo's listening out there.
Mike, I love you, buddy.
So you mentioned that up until that point, like, you really idolized these people. You thought they could do something you couldn't.
Yeah.
Mostly because you couldn't do the thing. I'm curious, do you think that was like learned from somewhere else in your life? Like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it, until you hit that point where you're like, oh, wait, I can do it. Like, where do you think that, for lack of better words, self-doubt came in?
Originated from? I don't know, honestly, because truthfully, my parents were extremely supportive of like every single frivolous endeavor I've ever had. Like, I've probably had 30, 40 different hobbies. I was super into skateboarding. I was super into skiing. I was super into X, Y, or Z, cars, whatever. And they've always been super supportive and always said, yeah, you can do anything you want. And they've always reinforced that idea. But I don't know. I think actually at that time I was in a really toxic relationship, and I was going through a lot of like emotional turmoil outside of my passion projects. And I think that was definitely leaking in and like kind of smothering me. And it was saying, oh, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You're not whatever, because that's what I was being told in other instances. And I was applying that to every aspect of my life. But got out of that relationship a year ago, and things have been very different.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you said this. Are you an only child?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like your parents were incredibly supportive, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's really amazing to have parents that supported you in all the ways that they did. Did you ever want to have siblings?
Sometimes. Actually, funny story. I technically had a twin sister in the womb, but she didn't make it, and I like absorbed her essentially. So that was kind of, and I never really, actually, we can touch on that later if you want to, but I never really understood what that meant to me. But recently I feel like I've come to more like understanding with that, and realize that there's aspects of my life where like I feel like she shows up, which is interesting. But honestly, I don't think I never really felt like I needed a sibling to be content. I've always been a very like self-sufficient kind of kid. Like, I never had any problem just playing by myself or whatever. I was super into Legos as a kid. So like I would just sit in a room with piles of Legos around me and just by myself having a blast for days, months, years on end. Like, I feel like I've always been good at fulfilling my own emotions from within without seeking it from an outside source. So honestly, I never really wanted a sibling. I never really thought about it, to be honest. It was just kind of the way things were, and I You know, I think I actually didn't want a sibling because I saw my cousins like getting into fist fights all the time. And I was like, that looks awful. I don't want that.
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't really have an issue with it. I feel like it also being an only child, people talk about the only child syndrome a lot. It's bullshit. I think being an only child is actually the reason that I'm capable of sharing and like that I don't have a problem making compromises with other people because as a child, I wasn't constantly fighting with somebody else to get my way. I was taught to give other people, you know, their chance in the spotlight because they'd also give me mine. And as I, you know, learned to make that like compromise, I think that very much served me because I see a lot of people who are, you know, had siblings, but they don't know how to share.
That's fascinating. I've actually never heard that take. I can see it. I think it probably also has to do with the relationship that you have with your parents and like how they parented you.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job, no lie.
I mean, I think they did too. You know, look at this guy. Yeah.
Shout out mom and dad.
Shout out mom and dad. Yes. To the extent you're comfortable sharing, you mentioned you almost had a twin sister.
Yeah.
And that you've kind of felt her presence in some way throughout your life.
Yeah.
Can you share more about that?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to explain. I went and did this thing called the Hoffman Process last year. Do you know about that?
I do know about the
That's
Hoffman
so interesting.
process.
Yeah. So I went and did that. My mom used to actually be a Hoffman teacher. She used to be one of the people that taught that.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really incredible. But while I was there,
Can you actually explain the Hoffman process
Yes,
for
I
people
can.
that might not know?
from
what
people
that
not,
is?
yeah. So the Hoffman Process was developed by this guy, Bob Hoffman, in the 50s or something, I think. It's been around for a while. And it's basically centering around this idea of the cycle of transformation, which is where you identify a pattern or a learned behavior in your life that is detrimental. You focus on, like, you have to express it. Then you have to find compassion for yourself, and then then that will lead to new ways of being. And it's this kind of cyclical nature. And it's basically the Hoffman process is teaching you all these tools to deal with parental patterns or learned behaviors. That's kind of synonymous with generational trauma, if you've heard that before.
And it's a structured program.
Yeah, it's very structured. So I went to this, they have a bunch of sites around the US, but you do it in person. I went to one in California. Basically, they take your phone, they take all connection to the outside world, and I was there with 39 other people in dormitories for a week, and you don't do anything but therapy. Actually, the first 2 days, we weren't allowed to talk to each other. We were just forced to sit with our own thoughts, and it puts you in a state that is so vulnerable that you're actually able to like literally change your life. Like I changed my fucking life fundamentally. The way I think, the way I act, the patterns that were controlling me do not control me anymore. I, through that process, identified like 127 negative patterns that I was enacting into my life. And these other people all had very similar experiences of like, there was hundreds of things that they were doing all the time that were controlling them that they didn't even realize they were doing. And the Hoffman process is about identifying those patterns and then working towards new ways of being. So, but while I was there, just the openness of the experience and the kind of the way that they force you to go inward made me just kind of at least finally like I'd been sort of disacknowledging the existence of that twin sister that I almost had. I didn't know what to do with it because my mom told me about it when I was 5 or 6, I think. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, am I supposed to feel sad? Am I supposed to be longing for something? Is there, and I just didn't know what to do with it. But I think the Hoffman process kind of just let me just like acknowledge that she was a presence that existed and that I guess a part of her is probably, all of her is part of me as well, physically, molecularly, literally, which is wild to think about. But yeah, I kind of see her almost as a little bit of like a kind of just a voice up there that's gonna guide me along the path. And I sort of almost treat my intuition kind of personified as her a little bit, you know, in terms of like, it's a little bit of a, yeah, I don't know. And there have been a number of instances in my life where I swear I've like felt a presence in other things, specifically in this. Me and my ex had this orange cat, and there was just something about that cat that like it felt like it had a part of my twin sister in it that was like, I don't know. I sound crazy.
No,
but,
you don't.
But
No,
it
you
was
don't.
it was very, very interesting.
Yeah. She's almost like an angel on your shoulder, it sounds like.
Kind of a little spirit guide type energy.
Yeah.
Like Coco's dog.
Wow.
So, I don't know. Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely,
beautiful. And I'm absolutely fascinated and amazed by the fact that you went through the Hoffman process. I have close friends that have gone through it.
Yeah.
I personally have not gone through it, but I've heard it's truly transformative.
It is.
It certainly sounds like it was for you. What compelled you to do that? At such a young age.
Yeah. So actually, when I decided to go do it, you decide to do it like usually 6 months to a year before you actually do it. Mainly because their wait list is so long. They have sometimes years long wait lists. There are tons of people that want to do it. Oprah's done it. Katy Perry did it. Justin Bieber tried to do it, but he couldn't finish it. Actually, he dropped out midway through the program. And we had a couple of people in our class that actually dropped out halfway through because they just physically couldn't take it. It is an extremely psychologically demanding process. It is the most intense therapy you've ever experienced. From, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. you're in therapy all day long for 7 days. So it's a lot. But yeah, I mean, I was in this really toxic relationship. I was really struggling with myself and realizing that I was as much of an enabler to the toxicity as my ex-partner was toxic herself. And so there was, I realized that it takes two to tango, and that there was a lot of work that I had to do on myself if we were going to have a healthy relationship. And so I kind of started signing up for it. And then you do like homework leading up to it. So you have to write all these things. It's like 30,000 words or something, and you're kind of detailing your life, and they give it to the teachers so that teachers can read it and they understand kind of how to best help you before you get there, so that you're not having to spend 2 days just explaining your life. So yeah, and I mean, I think the initial reason I did it was because my parents had done it before. My mom was a teacher. I had been talking to my mom about some of my struggles, and she was like, these are things that the Hoffman process might really help you with. And then, so yeah, I signed up for the Hoffman process with the intention of staying in the relationship that I was in and working on myself and trying to figure it out. A week before I went to the process, everything just reached a breaking point, and I realized that if I was going to get positive things out of the process, I had to end the relationship before I went, because I was going to get stuck, and the process wouldn't be effective because I would be concerned about the relationship. And in that moment, I just got just ultimate clarity, and I was like, I've got to get out of this. And so, yeah, I got out of the relationship literally 3 or 4 days before I left for California.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were living together at the time.
Oh, wow.
Had shared insurance. We had 2 cats. I kept one. She kept the orange one that I was talking about earlier. And if you're listening out there, I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you're doing well.
That's really kind of you.
And yeah, I have no animosity towards that relationship. We just were not a good fit. My enablement patterns were not positive for her in any capacity. So I hope she's doing better. But
yeah, you mentioned 127 different negative.
That's a rough number, but yeah, around there.
Roughly
120, 130, give or take.
Are you open to sharing maybe some of the most profound ones? Yeah,
absolutely. I think the most profound one, and the thing that was having the most detrimental impact on my life, was definitely I had never seen a healthy relationship in my whole life. Like, most of my friends' parents are divorced. My mom, I forgot to mention, she remarried when I was 14 again to her high school sweetheart, and then they got divorced again. So 3 divorces. And
Wow.
all of them were toxic marriages. Nothing was ever peaceful. There was, so I was very much not aware of what healthy love looked or felt like. And I think that was probably the single most detrimental thing because, and I also, 2 parts to that. There was sort of a part of I'm not comfortable with myself. I'm not happy alone. I need somebody else to bring me happiness because I didn't know how to fulfill myself. I didn't have any real direction. I had hobbies and stuff, but it felt like there was some, like, I think what it boiled down to is I didn't love myself, truly. And I think the most important thing that the Hoffman process taught me was to love myself, and then everything else kind of fell into place. But yeah, the not knowing what healthy versus not healthy relationships looked like, I was in like 4 back-to-back year-long toxic relationships, like getting with the literal next person I met after I got out of the relationship, like a week later. And it was just this insane cycle of just giving myself away constantly and never, I hate being selfish, but I had to learn how to be selectively and healthy selfish and take care of yourself so that you can give to others. But I wasn't taking care of myself. So it was just like I was trying to fill my cup with other people's cup, and I, was trying to give from a cup that was empty, and it just wasn't working. So I think everything was timed properly in terms of getting out of that relationship and then going to the process. But yeah, things like those were the really like super bad ones. I think there was also an element of like not feeling like enough, for sure. I think as a man, that's definitely pretty common. Definitely also patterns of kind of self-destructive behavior with addiction to some things, and just not the healthiest lifestyle in terms of just not taking care of my body in the way that I should have been. Like, I was not eating well, I was not sleeping, I was not, and I think it was just from a lot of built up stress over just years and years and years of not knowing how to process it. So I think, again, it's weird, but it all kind of boils down to just loving yourself, but understanding all the facets of what loving yourself means. Because it's not just, I love myself. It's doing all the things that prove that you love yourself. And then you can say that you love yourself. But saying, I love me, I love myself, isn't the act of it. The act of it is, removing yourself from toxic situations, being kind to yourself, following your dreams, not giving up on yourself, believing in yourself. There's so many different facets to loving yourself, but I think that's what it really boils down to.
Wow. I mean, when you first shared the whole self-love concept, I took a pause and like really felt that in my body. It's truly something that I've been working on. I think I'd argue most people are working on.
Oh yeah.
And then also the whole I am not enough. That nefarious belief in the back of my mind. I experience it time to time. I'm sure we also experience it. It's like I'm sitting here just in awe at how you've like made these massive shifts in your mindset and and really just uncovered these massive learnings about yourself. I'm just so curious how those learnings have impacted your music career.
I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am right now if it wasn't for the Hoffman process, to be honest. I definitely wouldn't have the confidence to take the leaps that I've taken. And I mean, every single day I'm scared. Every single day. And the thing that the Hoffman process taught me, and just like the self-love, is that, do it scared. Whatever it is, if you're afraid of it, it's probably because you need to do it. And it's like, the more I do the things that I'm afraid of, the easier they get, and the more, I don't know, success I find through just tackling those hardest battles. Can you reiterate the question? I totally got lost in my own train of thought.
No, I was just curious how these learnings
have
Hoffman
impacted. Yeah,
no, but
yeah.
I mean, I think that's you answered.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. I think the confidence plays a big part of it. I think the self-belief and just like the clarity and the ability to just focus in on the goal, keep the eyes on the prize, not getting distracted by things. Losing the need for other people to fill my own cup has also been huge because it's allowed me to focus on my goals, not somebody else's goals, not trying to actualize, because I was trying to actualize other people's dreams. I was trying to help people find their path when I didn't have my own path first. And it's like, if you're trying to help other people find your path, find yours and then lead by example, So it's like, in those situations, in those relationships in the past, the way if I could go back and change those, I would just be more focused on being a grounding, solid person myself. And then I feel like that would have led to those other people following along and being more, and meeting me there rather than me trying to jump over to everybody else's side and do that. It's extremely toxic for both people most of the time. So I think that's also getting back to the meat relationship stuff. But no, in terms of the music, I think definitely the confidence, the self-belief, the clarity, the direction, those all definitely came out of the Hoffman process.
It's so beautiful on so many levels. Truly,
Thanks,
like
man.
I said it before, but I am in awe of kind of the realizations and the growth that you've had and achieved so far. And yeah, from what it sounds like, it's really impacting you personally and professionally.
Yeah.
You mentioned hard days.
Yeah.
And like doing it scared.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you have like tools to help you through. How do you get through those days?
Eyes on the prize. I just look at, the things, the reward. It's not, I think the fatal flaw is focusing on how much it hurts or how much it takes or whatever. But if you just focus on what you want and because I think the thing that a lot of people struggle with is that they know what they want and they kind of know actually how to get there, but they're not willing to put in the effort to get there because the things that are required to get there are hard. It's really hard. It's not easy. None of it is. I think it's just about forcing yourself to do little things and then the ball just kind of gets rolling. I find that, I struggle with procrastination all the time with my ADHD. I will sit there and stare at my computer for like an hour and not touch it because I'm trying to muster up the courage to go on Square and change my website around and add new stuff and whatever, because it's taxing. It's a lot. And especially being a DJ, learning all sorts of new software, and like, it's not just Ableton. It's like, I've had to learn how to use Laylo and Square and, how to do all the social media stuff and how to be a content creator and how to set up a Twitch account. And I've got YouTube and I've got Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Linktree, SoundCloud, Spotify. I've got like 30, 40 different accounts, and each one of those was learning a whole new thing. And it was terrifying in the beginning. Like, I put off setting up my Square website for like months, like 4 months. I was talking about it. And it was one last thing that I had to finish, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it for some reason. And I'm still working on like nailing down what the actual tools are. Currently, it's just, I just force myself through it and then it gets easier as I keep going. But I think the number one advice I'd have is like, just do one small thing. One little thing, and then do one thing that's slightly more taxing, and then the ball just gets rolling, and then it's easy. After a while, it's just, so every day when I start my day, I do one tiny thing to start, and then everything else just becomes easier. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Super practical.
Yeah.
And I imagine a lot of people are struggling with just getting started. I myself also have days where I'm just like, I don't want to do the thing, and just sometimes just starting, to your point, leads to that snowball effect.
Yeah. Well, they say it takes 20 minutes-ish to get focused, and it takes about like 25 to get refocused if you get distracted. So it's like you got to allow yourself about 20 minutes to get started on a task, and then it's going to get easy. But as soon as you stop, it's going to get more difficult again. But also there's a massive like dopamine problem that we're all struggling with, of social media and Instagram and substances and whatever, diminishing your dopamine to a point and desensitizing your receptors to the point where you're not like physically capable of doing stuff because your body literally does not have the motivation chemical. Like the thing that tells your brain, oh, I should do this, is gone, or your body can't recognize it because you're so overstimulated. So that's a huge problem. And I've very much been trying to do like dopamine detox type stuff and that's definitely helped my motivation a lot, where I won't look at my phone before I go to sleep. I won't look at it right when I wake up. I'm really trying to not scroll like at all, just post and ghost type deal, respond to comments and DMs and whatnot, but not sit there and scroll, because it's just, those are seconds of your life you're never going to get back. And I'm starting to realize that most of the things that I'm seeing are not actually things that I care about or was wanting to see. It's just I'm seeing them now and it's giving my brain dopamine, which is cool. But it's like, if I really think about it, it's like, no, I didn't wake up this morning and say, oh, I want to watch some dude knead bread on Instagram. Like that wasn't part of my daily plan, but here I am watching this video for 3 minutes. What am I doing? And I'll catch myself in those moments and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die someday. And I'm going to think back and be like, damn, I wish I had those 3 minutes back. Because on your deathbed, 3 minutes is a lot of time. It's a lot of time. So make it count.
I feel that, dude. I really do. Like, listen, the reason I started this podcast was because I was sick and tired of social media algorithms feeding me slop.
Yeah.
Stuff that was not benefiting me in any way.
No.
But specifically like related to the artists that I know and love so much, right? I don't want to see a 15-second trend on TikTok that you think you need to do to gain engagement. I want to like know who you are as a person, and I think long form conversation is really key to that.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess just to reiterate, like I'm really impressed by the tools that you have to deal with life, like from the steps that you've taken to grow to the tools that you have practically on a day-to-day. It sounds like you're really on top of your shit. And like, yeah, do you feel that way?
Yeah. Surprisingly, for once. Yeah, I mean, there's days, obviously, and I think the reason that I seem that I am on top of my shit in some capacity is because I'm constantly questioning myself. I'm constantly questioning, am I spending my time most wisely? Am I doing the right thing? Am I following my morals? Am I doing this for the right reason? I question that every day. I'm like, am I doing music for the right reason? Because I see all sorts of people, especially with the AI shit, people are doing it just to make money. That song I Run by Haven, call out, it's fucking AI generated. And like, yes, there are human elements involved in the song, but it's like they're doing it for a cash grab. They don't want to put in the effort. They don't want to learn. They don't want to take the time to pay a singer to actually sing it. They want to make it quick, make it fast, and get it out there and make money off of it. And that sickens me, frankly. I mean, the only point of art that matters is the fact that it comes from a human. It's an extension of the imagination. It's a piece of the soul. It's the only thing that actually really fucking sticks around is art. I mean, sure, science and whatnot and discoveries stick around after you're dead, but if you really think about it, like most of the hobbies or most of the things that people do in their lives are for the duration of their lifespan, and then it's gone and it's into oblivion. But if you create genuine, heartfelt art, it lasts forever. I mean, we have museums, we have, people listen to music from the 80s and 90s and 60s and 50s, since the beginning of recording. And that will always, be around in some capacity. So it's like, if you're going to leave a mark, make it yours. Don't make it fake. What's the point, So, I don't know.
I love that. I mean, at the risk of going down a rabbit hole in art and AI and probably spending the next hour talking about that, I'm going to put a pin in that.
Yeah,
We might be
we
able
might
to get
touch
to
back
it
on
later.
No worries.
There's a lot to say, and that by itself can probably be
Its
a
own
whole
thing.
2-hour conversation.
Yeah. We'll have to do an episode 2.
We could do episode 2. So, I'm curious, and I think I already know the answer, but I'm curious the specific moment in your life or in your career where you felt like, oh, I've like made it, or like I've hit a level, like, oh, this is actually happening.
Yeah, there've been a couple of those. The first one was when my remix of Tulane like blew up a little bit on TikTok. I got like 30K views, and I was like losing my gourd. And Zingara commented and had me send it to her, and that was one of the moments where I was like, oh shit, like this is for real. This is actually happening. Because even at that point, I was only like 3 months into posting like regular content and whatnot. I really only started posting content about my music like in January, I think. So this was like in April, I think, was when that happened.
This is the first one.
Yeah, that was kind of like the first little level.
And did it feel like you thought it was going to?
I'm not sure I knew what it was going to feel like, or I had imagined what it was going to feel like, because I feel like part of me at the time leading up to it wasn't really totally convinced that it would happen. Like yes, but also I don't know. There's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes in a number of times, and especially in the beginning there was a lot of imposter syndrome, and especially with that song, because no lie, I made that song in 2 hours, and I was like, how is this happening? I was like, this is not real. Like, I'm gonna wake up. But it was real, and the video still has all the views, and translated to like 45,000 plays on SoundCloud so far, which is pretty good. So that was like the first moment. And then the second moment was when I posted my Smoke and Love remix, and Levity commented on it, and they were like, this is fire, you're on a roll. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That blew my mind. I was screaming, and yeah, I was losing my shit.
Yeah, well, I want to hear more about this.
Like, yeah, it was.
Where were you? What were you doing?
I woke up literally at like 10 a.m. or something, and looked at my phone, and I was like blurry-eyed and I saw Levity comment, and I'm like, and went, ah! And my roommate's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Levity just commented, and I called all my friends, and I was like, they heard my fucking music and whatnot. And that was just, it was so surreal. And then that remix, actually, there's still some other exciting stuff with that. This woman who knows, there's this reggae group called the Elevators. I don't know if you know them. They've toured with Stick Figure and whatnot. They have like 1 million monthly listeners or whatever. This woman knows them personally, and she played them that remix, and they actually reached out and want me to remix one of their songs. I'm not sure if they want to do like an official remix, but they're going to send me the original vocal stems and whatnot once they're off tour. So that's still in the works. But that was really cool hearing like, a big artist that actually wanted me to remix their stuff because they liked my music. So that was pretty huge. And then most recently, my remix of Boombastic, my video that I posted on it, again, I made this fucking song in an hour and a half on a TikTok live stream on a whim. I was like, this would be fun. 150,000 views on my video, like 20K likes, got like 4,000 shares. The sound got 6,500 videos made to it. And some dude posted a video that got like 2.8 million views. Like, it fucking blew up. Unfortunately, it didn't translate to as many plays on SoundCloud as I would have liked so far. I mean, it's only been up for like 2 months, and it's got like 35K or something. So it's still doing good. No complaints. The Smoke and Love Flip just hit 67K, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I just hit 300,000 plays since January.
Wow.
On SoundCloud, which is wild.
Wow.
Yeah, like 80K plays this month, which is like nuts for like my little robot noise songs that I make on my computer, which is crazy to me. But yeah, so that was another that Boombastic flip moment was another big like, oh wow, like this is actually happening. And Levity commented again on that on my TikTok, and then I didn't tag him in any of it, or no one was even tagging him. They also found the Instagram post and commented on that too. And then most recently, our friend Madeline, who was at the Denver pop-up and for Levity, and they recognized her from my TikToks. They said, "Oh, you're Madeline from Bassurgence's TikTok," and I was like, "What is going on? Like that's crazy."
Yeah.
So, shout out Levity. Lasership was
Shout
insane.
out Levity.
Shout out Levity. You guys are awesome. The things that you guys are doing for the community is unmatched. The charity, the community outreach, the way that you interact with your fans and artists like me, small artists, and just giving people a platform. The way that they were giving all the openers full access to the lasers and all that is just so awesome. Yeah, big shout out to Levity. So anyway, but yeah, those are the breaks.
I mean, those are all massive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could hear it in your voice and see it on your face. Like, it's very clear how it's making you feel.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Giddy.
Like, yeah, giddy.
Sweaty palms,
yeah,
literally.
Right? Oh my God.
I get like just thinking about it.
What's changing for you? Right? You're having these breaks.
Yep.
Like mentally, physically, maybe. Is there anything that's changing after these breaks happen?
Definitely becoming just more confident in my own ability to make music that the masses enjoy, not necessarily just the most niche stuff ever. I'm definitely finding my sound, I think, and finding my audience and finding people who are, like I'm getting some pretty dedicated fans. I've got some dude drove 4 hours from New Mexico to the middle of Texas to watch me play for like 60 people at this little festival, like not 60, like 100 people or some shit, a couple months ago. And that was insane. I was like, are you kidding me? I gave him a free t-shirt and whatnot. I was like, dude, he was like, I'm your fucking #1 fan. I was like, you just might be. I was like, I don't know anybody else who's driven 4 hours to come see me. So yeah, definitely just like confidence is growing. And yeah, less doubt, less self-doubt, less imposter syndrome. I'm doing like one-on-one private production lessons, and I've got my Patreon where I'm doing sound design tutorials and whatnot. So that's also like people are turning to me to learn how to do things. So that's definitely like boosting my own confidence. Like, okay, I actually know something, because I feel like, and I mean, dude, if you brought Subtronics on here, he'd probably say a similar thing, but so much of music production sometimes feels almost random. And there is some amount of randomness. Like sometimes I'll be in Serum trying to make a growl bass or whatever, and it's like the best way to get started is to randomize, is to just throw caution to the wind, turn a bunch of knobs, turn a bunch of dials, see what it sounds like. And so sometimes that leads into a self kind of doubt of like, do I actually know what I'm doing? Or am I just lucky? Like, am I just getting lucky and it's just over and over and over again and I actually don't know what I'm talking about? But in reality, obviously not, because you can't get lucky with like mixing and mastering. It's not, the post-production, the arrangement, the, all of that is not any sort of random in any capacity, is all extremely intentional. And I mean, even I feel like different artists take different approaches. I take a very intentional approach to like sound design and whatnot. Like I'm like, okay, I want to make a yoy. If you've looked at Subtronics' old live streams from like COVID and whatever, he's randomizing everything. He's just resampling, randomizing, resampling, randomizing, resampling. And that's a super sick way to go about it. And it creates some incredible noises. And it's, I mean, there's a ton of technique involved in that. It's not just hitting some dials. He's doing very intentional things, but just creating a random pattern. But I take a much more like intentional approach to it, but I'm slowly working on melding both of those and kind of working through that.
Yeah, well, there's still like a discerning ear, right?
Yeah,
you can hit
sure.
randomize all you want,
Yeah,
but at the end of the day,
if you don't know what sounds good,
right? Like, oh, I like this. I don't like. And by the way, I have zero production experience, but like that's fact. Like,
no,
you can
yeah,
randomize all day,
yeah.
but there's still something that's gonna sound good, or maybe you like one part of it and you tweak it in another way. I think to give yourself some credit, that's definitely the main factor here.
Yeah.
So we talked about some highest highs. You mentioned some imposter syndrome. I'm curious, like when you're in those highest highs, is there any part of you that still feels incomplete or not enough, or something that's maybe like not letting you fully experience?
Honestly,
that high?
no. And that sounds unbelievable to say, but truthfully, yeah, I feel completely free. Like the Hoffman process absolutely fucking changed my life in so many ways that I could not have even imagined. I mean, just the way that, I don't know. I find a lot of times I feel like I'm more on a journey rather than making all the decisions myself. You know, it's not necessarily that. I am making the decisions, but it's like the path feels laid for me. And I feel like I'm not fighting anything. I don't feel like I'm fighting myself. I don't feel like I'm fighting the world or society or anything. It just feels smooth currently. And that's pretty awesome.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone that is starting his own venture,
Mm-hmm.
like that, I know what that feeling feels like,
Mhm.
and free and liberating is 100% that.
Yeah, and that'll probably change. There's definitely going to be moments where I'm struggling and I'm all in my head and lost and whatever. But currently, right now, I think everything's going pretty good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's like a pretty good. We're in present day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We've covered a lot of the backstory. I think like we've arrived at a really beautiful present day
Yeah.
Johnny Bassurgence theme. I'm curious, and I promise we'll move on to the future stuff. I'm just curious if there was a sacrifice you felt you made
Mhm.
to pursue music,
Yeah.
that you still think about today.
I don't think there was any sacrifice that I made that wasn't worth it. Truthfully, I've definitely had to make a lot of sacrifices. I hardly go to shows anymore. I go to very few select shows because most of my weekends are spent producing music. I honestly see my friends a lot less than I'd like to, because I'm pursuing music and it's taking up, like, I work my 9 to 5 from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then from like 5 to like 2 a.m. virtually every single night I'm working on music, either live streaming, making content, making more music, practicing DJing, whatever, practicing my transitions, doubles, whatnot. But I think all the sacrifices have been worth it, and all the friends that I have and the friends that truly care about me aren't concerned with me not spending time with them because they know that I'm pursuing my dreams. And there have been people who have fallen off because I haven't spent as much time with them. And it's unfortunate, but it is, it's just kind of the process. And I think true friends who really care about you will be supportive of your endeavors no matter what. And it doesn't matter how much time you spend away from them because they know that in your heart you always care about them and that you're just doing your thing. You're just busy. But yeah, so honestly, I don't think there's really been any sacrifices. I think most of what I had to sacrifice was my own self-doubt and my own, like, I had to get out of my own way because the only person that gets in my way is myself. And I still get it in my own way all the time, where I procrastinate or don't do something that I'm supposed to or whatever. But yeah, I don't really think there was any sacrifices that I had to make that weren't worth it or that I really dwell over, to be honest.
That's beautiful. And shout out good friends.
Shout out good friends.
You know
Dylan,
who you are.
Avery, Calder, Stewart. Love you guys.
There you go.
Sawyer, Fiona. I got so many people. I got
If
so
your
many
name
good,
wasn't mentioned,
beautiful people. Yeah.
He's on the spot. Give him.
Yeah, if I didn't mention you, I'm sorry. I love you. I know you do. I know I do.
So you work a 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
and from 5 to 2
Mm-hmm.
a.m.
Mm-hmm.
you are grinding on the side baby. Or
Yeah.
really, it's the main baby for right now. It's a side baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Takes an immense amount of work ethic and
Mhm.
drive to do that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's innate?
I think it was learned. I think both my parents definitely instilled that in me. They're both entrepreneurs. My mom she's written like 12 books. She's got like 3 albums or 4 albums of music. She's a speaker, coach, author, obviously. Yeah, I mean, she definitely instilled a very strong work ethic in me. I think she worked like 18 hours a day for like 20 years, basically. just workaholic almost. My dad, very same way. He's a business consultant. He's retired now, and just kind of doing some side gig stuff just for fun. He works for some charities and whatnot still, just, offering his time because he loves to give it. So I think, yeah, definitely my parents instilled a very strong work ethic in me.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, I think I could see that in my life as well. I think it's part learned and part nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about where you're going.
Okay.
If it all goes well in 5 years,
yeah,
where are you going to be?
Headlining.
What went well?
Headlining main stage Lost Lands. 5 years.
Okay. And what's like the most immediate next step? Like, do you see what you need to do to get there?
Yeah. I mean, it's a repetitive process for sure. It's a content strategy. It's a brand building and promotion, and I think it's just consistency. I think that's the key to making it. I think so many people they go in bursts and then they pull back and then burst and then pull back, and it's about building momentum and keeping that momentum going. And if you don't stop, I think GorillaT is honestly such a prime example of like someone who was very small, who has a dream, who just did the consistency, did the social media right, did the branding right, did the music right, and did it for the right reasons. And it panned out in a short period of time. I mean, Tate's only really been, kind of in the spotlight for 3-4 years, give or take. Hasn't been that long. And I mean, it's like a household name now. GorillaT, everybody knows that shit.
Yeah.
Everybody knows his music. Everybody knows his song. He's got the personality too. That's another thing. So yeah, I think the path is very much right now focused on building the traction and the back end work. I want to be a headliner. Truthfully, I don't want to be an opener. I mean, obviously I'll open for anybody gladly. But I mean, in the long run, I want to be a headlining act. And I think I've got the uniqueness for it. I think I've got the, I mean, I think what differentiates headline acts from people who end up staying more local is sort of the identity, the charisma, the sort of the confidence too. I see. I think, I don't know. I think there's so many steps in the journey, but I think it's very much focused on building the back end first and then kind of exploding onto the scene as almost a headlining act, not necessarily. I mean, that's kind of what me and some people have already been talking about in terms of strategy, is like pulling back from doing smaller shows right now and focusing on building the brand and building the traction to then more explode onto the scene and leave a very good first impression for cities, like not going and booking a tour and only selling 30 tickets. That's a really bad thing to do, because then you burn that bridge, you burn that first impression, and that first impression is the most important one. So it's about building up to that and then coming out swinging once you've got the equity,
Yeah. And that mentality, was that like learned, or is this what you've always believed?
No, I mean, that's a combination of a lot of different things that I've heard from a lot of different people. So it's definitely a learned kind of mentality, especially around the music. But I think it's also there's some innate stuff. I don't know. The whole idea of nature versus nurture is a whole nother podcast that we
Episode
could do.
3.
Episode 3.
Yeah. I'm curious, let's fast forward 5 years from now.
Yeah.
When you look back on this exact chapter in your life, what do you hope to remember?
I hope to remember shit like this. The real, like, the and I know I will, obviously, but the interactions with people when you're a very small artist are so incredibly meaningful, because it's like the amount of interactions that I have is not anywhere near as many as someone like Subtronics or Grizz or whoever is having. They're talking to media people all the time. They're interacting with hundreds of people on a weekly basis, managers, talent people, whatever. And I feel like as you get bigger as an artist, it gets more difficult to have more intimate, meaningful kind of instances. So I'm really cherishing like every single like that guy who drove 4 hours to come see me play in Texas. I talked to him for like 15 minutes before my show because I had time, because I was able to, because I'm not Subtronics. I'm not, headlining Lost Lands right now. It's like I'm going to take the time with these fans to interact with them and show them that, yeah, I'm just some regular dude who spent 7 years learning how to make dubstep, but that's not, well, not 7 years learning how to make dubstep, but 7 years learning how to produce music in total, I guess. And dubstep has become the final evolution of my music production. But it's a long journey to do that shit. But yeah, I want to remember those small, meaningful interactions, because those have the biggest impact, I think.
I love that, and I would agree. Like the little time that I've had with artists that I look up to and love, it's meaningful. They do the meet and greets. They're there. They whether it's 30 seconds or 3 minutes or however many minutes, like they're present, and that's really memorable to me, and it really goes a long way. So I love that. Let's talk about beyond music.
Yeah.
I'm curious who Johnny is when he's not Mr. Producer and producing. Like, who are you? What gives you meaning outside of the music world?
I really like nature. I've always been very connected to nature. I grew up fishing constantly. I was on the ocean a lot with my dad, surfing, and love the woods. I love just kind of connecting with nature in those ways. I was very much into like survival skills and stuff as a kid, and always like I know how to make fire with like a bow drill and shit.
Nice.
I have some really weird like niche skills like that. To be honest, right now music has totally consumed my life. Like I'm not honestly sure if I know who I am outside of music currently right now, and that's maybe a point that I need to reflect on. Because I don't really do that much but music currently. Like I spend time with friends and whatnot, and the 9 to 5, but yeah, it's sort of just consumed that. I was really into the gym for a while. I'm still, I try to stay in that, but I'm trying to get back into that once I can go full time with the music. If
you have a free afternoon, what are you doing?
Making music.
No, you can't make music. It's a power outage.
Portable charger. No. Probably go outside. Probably go fishing or go on a hike or hang out with some friends. I hang out with my roommate, watch anime. Big into some animes. Cowboy Bebop has recently had a chokehold on me. We got the soundtrack on vinyl, which is pretty dope. So just got a pair of Heelys, which is pretty sick. So I've been healing around. Me and my roommate and my photographer, actually all three of us got Heelys, and
dude,
so
bring them back.
We were going to Costco and stuff, and those like glassy floors.
Oh yeah, dude. Some of my core childhood memories are on going to the mall.
Yep.
And ripping on Heelys.
Yep. I got a pair of like the mid 2000 like really chunky ones, and they've got like a galaxy pattern on them, all black. They're great.
Those are great.
Love the
Oh
Heelys.
Man, that company's not around. Like they're not making Heelys anymore. Are they?
Yeah, they are. Oh,
they
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Oh.
They've got like a full suite. You can get, dude. They've got so many different designs. It's crazy.
I'm glad that company survived.
Honestly, I don't know how they did, but
it's like people like us, just like nostalgia,
Yeah.
just want to be goofballs.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hit the super smooth floors in Walmart or wherever I am and have some fun.
Yeah.
Inject a little fun into my life.
Yeah. So I think, free day, you can find me healing around Costco.
That's great. Oh, yeah. And so there's no, like, it sounds like you don't want to turn the producer bane off, but it's never off.
I try to turn it off and I can't. Like, and it's like, sometimes it's almost annoying. Like I'm at shows and stuff and I'm like analyzing like every sound that I'm hearing. And I'm like, I've gotten to a point where I can listen to something and just totally isolate like one section of it. Like if I listen to a song, I can hear just the hi-hats or just the kick drum or only the snare or only the bass or whatever. And like sometimes I can't turn that off and it's like really frustrating. And I'll hear a song that's like the snare is like a little too loud or the hi-hats are a little too quiet or whatever. And my brain latches onto it and my brain's like, how would I fix this? How would I mix this better? Whatever. And that's annoying sometimes. because I want to just like not have to critique, but it's the curse. It's a blessing too.
Do you worry about burnout? Like
No.
if constantly being on, constantly grinding?
I don't know. Every other hobby I've ever had, I see an end and then I quit. If I see an end goal or if I see like a point where it's like you kind of like plateau and like max out, I just give up because I'm like, okay, eventually I'm going to get bored of this, so I might quit. I might as well quit now. The difference with music is that there is no end. It's constantly evolving. The landscape's constantly changing. People are constantly innovating. Even just within like Serum, which is like the main synthesizer that I use to make a lot of my sounds and basses and stuff, the possibilities are quite literally like infinite. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of different wavetables that you can download. You can make your own wavetable. That's what actually generates the sound. And then there's all these different filters and LFOs and effects and distortion and whatever. And it's like, it's just endless. There's no stopping. So it's like, I don't really worry about burnout because I'm always going to have something kind of new to do, I feel like. And it's like, if I ever make every dubstep song that there is to make, then I'll start making D&B. Or I'll start making house or whatever, But it's like, I'm never going to make every dubstep song that there is to make. Subtronics has been doing this for 20 years or whatever, and he hasn't found them all, so.
It's interesting because I don't hear stress at all. Mm-hmm. I don't hear anxiety. I hear the genuine desire to create and the love for creation.
That's all it is. I was a big artist as a kid. I did a lot of drawing. That's one thing I didn't really touch on, but art in some capacity has always been a huge element of my life. Art has always been the focus, I think. Like even with like the Legos and stuff, it was always about innovating or figuring out or creating something. It wasn't about I never like built the sets most of the time. I would just buy the pieces to build my own stuff. I was always trying to think outside the box and do something different. I never wanted to do what somebody else was already doing. It was like I want to find my own lane.
I love that.
Thanks.
We were talking that a little bit before about finding our own lanes and just not giving into societal conditioning or becoming aware of the conditioning that we have received.
Yeah.
And choosing to create our own paths.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So we touched on professionally where you want to be in 5 years. I'm curious personally, where do you want to be in 5 years?
I think I want to continue evolving, the learnings that I've recently gained over the past year. I feel like my life has taken a complete 180 in a year. I was in a really bad spot, super depressed, dealing with very toxic situation, no direction, not yes, I was making music, but didn't really see it as more than just a hobby or just something I was doing for fun. So I just want to continue. I mean, I really currently, my current mindset is really good. I feel very at peace with myself and with my situation, and I'd just like that to continue. And, obviously it changes and evolves because situations change and evolve, but I hope that through this whole musical journey, I can stay as grounded as I am right now and not get lost in the sauce, which I don't think I will, as long as I stay conscious and as I said before, I keep questioning myself and my place and why I'm doing the things I'm doing and how I can do them more genuinely or more confidently or whatever, and just continue to stay on that path.
Yeah, how do you stay grounded?
Fuck, I don't know. I don't even know. I have no idea. I just do. It's it's not genuinely. I think the Hoffman Process fucking rewired my brain in a way that I can't even put into words, because it doesn't feel like something I have to try to do. It doesn't feel like there's an action. It's just effortless. It's just, I don't know. It's the single most transformational thing I think anybody could possibly do for themselves. If you are struggling and you have extra money laying around, go to the Hoffman Process. It'll change your life. That's all I have to say.
We should be sponsored by.
We should be sponsored by the Hoffman Process.
Man, no, it's incredible to hear. I've heard beautiful things.
Yeah.
And to hear it from you and just hearing how it's led to this massive transformation and ultimately you feeling so good is it's a glowing endorsement, really. Yeah, I'm curious, like, is there anything, or rather, is there a question that you thought, or was that, is there a question that you hoped I would ask that I didn't ask?
No, I don't think so. No. Is there a question that you were afraid of asking?
No. I wanted to see where the conversation was going, and I think it's beautiful just to hear about the journey. And
Yeah.
it's been a full journey.
A very
at
full
the
journey.
young age of 21.
Yeah. About to be 22 in April. That's crazy.
There you go.
But yeah.
Anything else that you want to add or share that we didn't touch on? I know you're also a tattoo artist.
Yeah, it's a side hustle. I haven't done them in a minute, Loki. It's been like 3 or 4 months because I've been so focused on music. But, yeah, I did a bunch on myself. I did all my leg tattoos. But, yeah, that's a fun. That's very much the extension of like my digital and like kind of physical art in terms of like drawing and whatnot. Was very into Japanese traditional stuff. I have my whole back done with a dragon and shit, and I did a Raijin on my calf. But anyway, yeah, that's sort of taken a backseat though because the music's just been all consuming.
Totally.
But,
well, I mean, it's feedback, right? Like
yeah,
it's working, and so it's like, oh, I want to pour more into this.
Yeah, exactly.
At least I imagine that's what.
That's exactly. Yeah.
If listeners can take one thing away from this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
what do you hope it is?
If any of you out there have some dream or some passion or whatever, like, just don't ever give up on it. It's the only thing that matters. Like, it's, when you're 80 years old, the only things that you're going to regret are the things that you didn't do. So it's like, if there's something that you feel you need to do everything in your power to do it. Be that person, embody it. And also the other thing I'd say is, if you want something, you have to be able to imagine it. You have to be able to like see yourself in that position. Every single night before I go to bed, I put myself behind the deck at Red Rocks playing for 10,000 people every single fucking night. Because if I can't imagine it, how the hell am I ever going to get there? If I can't literally see myself in that position, then when opportunities arise that will get me to that position, I'm not going to be confident going into those because I can't even say I can imagine myself in that position. Like people talk about their dreams and like, oh, I can't imagine being a movie star. I can't imagine that must be incredible. Whatever. But it's like, no, imagine it. Dream about it. Daydream about it all day long. It's the first step to making a reality. People talk about manifesting of like, oh, I'm going to just think about this thing and then it'll happen. That's not how it works. But it does work in the way of that's the first step. You have to imagine it first. You have to tell yourself that it can be a reality and that you can be there. And then you have to do the work to get yourself there. But if you can't see the end goal, you will never get there. Ever. So follow your dreams. Don't fucking give up.
I'm fired up just hearing that. Truly.
Hell yeah.
This one's the last one really is for your super fans, and I invite you to look into the camera and speak to them. Like, do you have a message for your super fans?
Thank you. Thank you for making my dreams. However, I mean, we're not at the end yet. Obviously, we never will be. It's a long journey, but the amount of support that I've gotten in the past year has been insane. I still struggle to believe that this thing that used to be just some BS hobby for me is now this, and it's turning into a real career. And I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you for supporting me and for just being here for every step of the journey. I have such a engaged fan base and very, very loyal fans, and I'm just so grateful. So
Beautiful, dude. I love it. Thank you so much for doing this podcast.
Anytime,
it was an
Thank you for
absolute
having me.
pleasure. Like, just getting to know you on a more deeper personal level is enriching for me, and I hope
Yeah.
the listeners out there find the same.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was awesome. So,
Thanks, guys. Much love.
Deuces.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I'm grateful for people like you that care about the human side of your favorite artists. If something in today's episode resonated, I'd really appreciate it if you sent it to a family member or friend. Much love.